The Beer O'Clock Show with Steve and Mark. It's Beer O'Clock and this is the Beer O'Clock Show, where each week we take a specific beer, crack it open and savour the delights of a finely crafted real ale. My name is Mark, and joining me from the only place in the world where NASA has ever had anything nicked off the space shuttle is my beer mentor Steve. G'day, mate.
Good evening, Mark. How are you?
I'm very well. Trust Essex to be the only place to nick something off the space shuttle.
Of course. If it's not tied down, we'll have it.
The funny thing is, they nicked something off the space shuttle and about 50 bits of metal off whatever was holding the space shuttle up. So, God bless your gypsies.
Yes, indeed.
How's your week been? We were actually a bit late getting the last episode out because I wasn't well. So the last episode came out 2 weeks after the previous one. So I apologise for that. The editing took a while to get done. But we got it out in the end. So that came out a little while ago. But how have you been this week?
Yeah, it's been good, thank you. It's been an interesting week. Yourself?
Yeah, it's not so bad. I finished my current job in 2 days. So this week has been quite manic getting things done or getting things not so done, as the case may be. It's gotten to the point where I've told my boss I'm not going to get everything done, so... And he's gone, oh, fair enough. You can't get it done if you can't get it done. So I'm trying to relax now. It's been manic.
At least he's accepted that, which is a good thing.
Yeah, he's very laid back. This week's featured beer is Junction from Sambrook's Brewery, and we'll be getting to that in a little bit. But we've got some more beer talk to get through first. Steve, this week saw, or was it last week, saw the end of that Sainsbury's Great British Beer Hunt, which I never got to take part in.
I think it officially finished on the 2nd of October.
Okay.
I'm not really sure what happened from there, but I'm going to take a wild guess that basically I think it was the 4 beers that had sold the most during the time were taken to like a final tasting type event. And the beer that's come out on the top is a beer by Bateman's, and it's called I don't know what it's called now. It's called something. It's a Mocha Beer, so right. It's like a coffee chocolate beer, and I've got a bottle of it upstairs. So I'll be looking forward to sampling that over the next few weeks and giving some feedback on what it's actually like, what I think it's like, and whether I feel as though it was a deserved winner of the Sainsbury's Great British Beer Hunt.
The final judgment shall be yours.
Absolutely, yes. Our word is final.
Yeah. We had an assignment beer, as we usually do the last few weeks. We'll get to that in a little bit, but before that, what other beers have you had in the last 2 weeks that we've been not recording?
Yeah.
Or what stands out for you?
What stands out for me? Well, we were together on Friday night, weren't we?
Together at last.
Yeah. And we sampled we both had a different beer from the Brewdog bar.
No, we actually had the same one.
Did we have was it the same one?
Dead Pony Club.
Oh yeah, it was Andy that had a slight variation,
That's
wasn't
right,
it? Yes.
Yeah.
So what was it we drank again?
Dead Pony Club.
The Dead Pony Club. That was interesting.
It was crap.
It was hoppy and it was sweet. I wouldn't go so far as saying it was crap.
Well, for me it was, because remember I was telling you it had like an evergreen wood taste to it.
Yes. I think it was it fern that you described it as? Something like that.
Something like that, yeah. But no one else seemed to pick that up, because my wife Bev, she tasted it and she said, oh, just it tastes fruity.
Yeah.
And I'm tasting it, no, it tastes like a bloody branch. And so obviously my taste buds were reacting differently to everyone else, and I couldn't finish that. I actually left that pint sitting on the table. I know.
That's shocking.
Our first proper pint together.
Yeah, and you leave half of it.
I leave half of it behind.
Honestly. What else have I done? I've not really had that much variation over the last week. I did try another of the beers that were available on the Great British Beer Hunt, which was Willy Nilly. by Brains.
Okay.
Which was like a ruby ale. That was quite nice. Malty and some slight spicy undertones to it.
Mm-hmm.
What else did I try? I also tried because on Monday night I was in a bar just outside of Liverpool Street because I went to see a gig on Monday night, and it was upstairs in this strange pub, but they had a right decent range of local bottled beers from London, and they had one from the London Fields Brewery called Hackney Hopster, which was described on the bottle as having sort of like grapefruit and citrusy flavours, but for me there were too many citrus flavours in there. Mm-hmm. It just overpowered the beer. It was just far too sweet. It was like drinking a fizzy grapefruit juice.
Oh.
So, but that's about it really. Not really had a huge amount over the last couple of weeks.
Okay. On my list, my list is only 4 beers long. We had the Dead Pony Club at the Brewdog Bar in Camden. Then we walked on to another normal pub, and we had Brains IPA. Do you remember that?
I do remember the Brains IPA, yeah.
There wasn't much to that.
Pointless, tasteless, horrible. Not horrible, but just pointless and tasteless.
Yeah. I had my first ever Guinness.
What did you think?
It was the extra cold one, which everyone around the table seemed to think would mean I wouldn't get too much out of it, and I didn't get that much out of it. It was just roasted malt taste, really. I don't know if there's anything else to Guinness. I was telling my boss today, because as a non-beer drinker, Guinness always seemed like, that dark beast that's going to be the really strong stuff. But no, it was just tasted like a roasty malty beer.
Yeah,
it was nice. I liked it. I would drink it again, but it wasn't the thing to fear as I thought it would be.
No, that's all you get from it. I mean, I had a pint on Monday night of Guinness, and sometimes it's actually quite nice because other beers you can if you get the taste for it, you can drink them a little bit too quickly. But with Guinness, it's a beer that you almost naturally end up taking your time over. Yeah,
it was nice. And last week I had a bottle of Doom Bar. Long time listeners will remember I had my first Doom Bar on my birthday, and so I found a bottle at, I think that was at the Morrison's up the road, and yeah, I really like Doom Bar. There's not a great deal to it, but it's just very drinkable.
Have you ventured back to the dodgy side of town then?
This was in my original haul. I haven't gone back down that way.
All right, okay. Made sure you got so much the first time round that you didn't have to go
exactly, back. Yeah. So that's my week's worth of beers. And I don't think you have any more to add, Steve.
No, not really. Been a quiet couple of weeks on the beer front for me.
Yeah, recovering from your birthday.
Yes.
Cool. We have a Facebook page. This is new.
Yes.
Steve set up a Facebook page for the show. You can find it at facebook.com/beeroclockshow. We'd really appreciate you liking it, if you like it, if you're on Facebook in the first place. Jump on there because we throw questions out to our listeners. Steve posts photos of his beers as he's drinking them. We had a question go up on the weekend, which was when we were out at the Brewdog in Camden again, asking where and what have you been drinking. We had a couple of people pipe in. Our old mate Anthony Statham says he's at home enjoying a Black Sheep ale. Sorry to hear that, mate.
Unfortunate choice.
Yeah. In his mankard. His tankard. But he's a man. And James says that he was at the old homestead with a Kellam Island Pale Rider. That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Which was the #1 beer off the 2011 beer festival. Steve and Jim style.
Yeah, that's James is a good friend of mine, and he lives up north, and whenever he comes down or I go up there, we have mini beer festivals.
Ah,
so
okay.
I collect a load of southern beers, and he collect a load of northern beers, and then we drink them over the course of the weekend, and throughout the year we do this 3 or 4 times a year, and then we kind of decide on what our beer of the year was.
Right.
And last year it was very much the Kellam Island Pale Rider that was the beer of the year. So it's nothing official.
You should send them a ribbon.
Yeah.
Get them to put it on the bottle.
Yeah, maybe we should do that.
Yeah.
We'll have to think about doing something like that for the show as well.
Definitely.
Our beer of 2012.
Yeah. We're also on iTunes. I mentioned this in the last episode, but we're on iTunes where you can rate and review us. We've had a new 5-star review from Big Bag of Balls, who had listened to episode 2 and included some feedback on that episode. That's the episode that had the Green King IPA review. And Mr. Bag of Balls said he's just listened to episode 2 of the podcast, and whilst enjoyable, I would have to comment on the clarification given regarding northern and southern beers. I think we were talking about how people drink their beers, weren't we? Where the one was...
It's to do with the Green King pouring system.
Oh, okay.
You can have it poured as a northern or a southern pint.
Right. So he says, whilst I agree that northern beer is indeed smoother, the fact that it is smooth is poured so that the head is maintained throughout the pint. The southern pint is poured without the tap end connected, thereby ensuring a flatter pint, for want of a better word. There is a great difference between the 2 types of pints poured, and each will have their preference. Have you thought about involving northern and southern people in your reviews? May be interesting. Yes, we have. And we are trying to get some people involved in the show a bit more. We'll have a little bit about that a little bit further on in the show as well. Thanks, Mr. Bag of Balls, for the review. You can leave your own review on iTunes. Just search for Beer O'Clock Show, look for our nice beer bottle cover art, and click through, leave a review. We appreciate any feedback. We're on Twitter as well. You can find us on Twitter at Beer O'Clock Show, and along with our usual tweets from our number 1 fan, Anthony, who recorded his own wee review that we'll have at the end of the show. And he tweeted us plenty of messages regarding all the beers and the various hats he was wearing. We've had a couple of other tweets. We had Stefano Bentos, who is no relation to Steve. Says, another good show, boys. Mark's memory lane is hilarious. This was about our last episode with the Innocent Gun original. Mother's boiled sweets, indeed. Boiled toffee, I should say. And he loved that Essex statistic, which was the airplane parts falling from the sky. And Innocent Gun Leela said that we were making her thirsty, with a lovely description of the Innocent Gun original from the last episode. So that's cool.
Brilliant. I missed that one. I must say I didn't realise we'd had some feedback directly from Innocent Gun.
Yeah, so that was really nice to see.
Yeah.
And also the fact that they didn't call us on our description of the original. Last episode we had our usual weekly assignment. Now the weekly assignment is where Steve and I will take a beer each, which is like a different beer each, and drink it outside of the show and review it on the next one. Last week's assignment for me was Blonde from the Isle of Arran Brewery, and for Steve it was a Sambrook's Pump House Pale Ale. Now Steve, what did you think of the PHPA?
It was okay. It was another beer that I picked up from the Sainsbury's Great British Beer Hunt, having previously tried the other 2 Sambrooks that are on the market. It was one that I wanted to try. It was quite a sort of lightly coloured ale. So obviously it's a pale ale, so it's not quite golden, but it's not quite your dark brown, so it was somewhere between the 2. Mm-hmm. It was I found it very the 3 words that summed it up for me were crisp, clean, and refreshing. And that is kind of the entirety of my review there. But I think one of the issues I found is because I've been drinking beers out of. Remember on the last show I spoke about one of my friends bought me a tankard for my 40th birthday, and I'd started to sample some of my beers out of there. But I was finding that actually when I was pouring my pint in there, it was just fizzing up straight away. And so I don't know whether that was some sort of reaction of the beer to the pewter. And I also found that I was just losing the flavours of the beer. I've since moved back to glasses because I feel as though the tankard was taken away from the flavours. But it was a nice beer, middle of the road beer for me, really. I've got a few more that I picked up when I was getting some beers from Sainsbury's, and I'll just try those. And if I do find any more flavours, I'll report back on future shows.
Cool. Mine was the Isle of Arran. I've got to ask my mate Alistair how to pronounce this. It's one of the ones he sent me from Scotland, which was the blonde. My Untapped review was nicely hoppy, nice malt, medium strength. Not much else to it though. Now, in fairness, I did have it straight out of the fridge, so it was very cold, and I kind of finished it before I had a chance to warm up. It was very nice tasting. I think you would like it.
Yeah.
Really, it was definitely nicely hoppy. It had really nice, strong hops to it.
Sounds nice.
Yeah, the malt wasn't overpowering. Medium strength, that's as far as the taste goes. I think it was about 4.5% or something sensible like that. Yeah, that was very nice beer. I would have one of them again. I wouldn't think it would be a session beer, but that, because it's a medium strength beer, I prefer my lighter beers if I'm going to be on them all night. Not that I'm ever on beer all night. So that, yeah. So we'll come to our next week's weekly assignments after our main review. Our main review, as I said at the top of the show, is Junction by the Sambrook Brewery. Sambrook's being based in Battersea in London, which is not far from myself. Nestled between the River Wandle and the Battersea Power Station. This is a 4.5% ABV. They don't say much else about it. Junction Ale is named after our local railway station, Clapham Junction. With a deep amber colour and spicy rich fruit taste, it pairs especially well with hearty dishes. Oh, this sounds good.
Yeah.
Sausages and mash or steak pie. We do love a pie.
We do love a pie.
Better reason to go up the junction, indeed. Oh, I should mention in the last episode I talked about going to the local John Lewis and getting that Otter Ale gift pack that had the pint glass in it. Unfortunately, they didn't have any of the Otters, so I found a Bath Ale was one that had a pint glass. So I've actually got a pint glass now.
Yay!
Amazing! I'm not drinking out of a old IKEA glass. Small luxury, so I can actually pour this properly. So here we go, pouring the Junction. Oh, that's making me thirsty.
That's a beautiful sound.
I know. Oh wow, look at the colour on that.
It's almost... I don't know how you describe that. It's like a very, very, very dark orange, bordering on red, almost.
Yeah. I mean, it's getting close to like a ruby beer, but not red enough. But it is nice and dark. I mean, that's the colour of ale when you see like the cartoon pictures of ale.
Yeah.
Nice light fizz of it. I got about a 1 finger head.
I've got no head at all.
Oh, you pour it properly.
Well, I do like a little bit of head, but
steady on, mate.
Yeah,
this is a family show.
Yeah, let's rephrase that. I like to have a small head on my pint. I just think it adds to it. But I suspect the reason why I've not got a head is because I was enjoying some water out of this glass earlier, and that's obviously tainted the glass.
Oh, I see. Well, that's got a nice taste to it as well.
Spicy aroma.
I could smell that when I was pouring it. It had that really nice spice coming over.
Lots of initial flavours in there. That's quite full-bodied. I'd say it's
definitely, yeah.
A lot of character to it.
The hops don't linger.
No,
Which
not.
which means, well, for me, it means they're not overpowering that malty taste that's coming through, or
Yep.
the spice coming through.
Yeah, you're getting you get almost an instant hit of the spicy hop, but then it kind of wanes straight away. It doesn't hang around.
Mm.
Now this one, I've just been looking it up while we've been drinking it. This one actually appears on the Cyclops website, which is the first time we've found one on Cyclops.
Oh, that's the rating system that Badger uses on the back of their bottles. Yeah.
Yeah. So, according to Cyclops, you should be able to see Auburn.
Yep.
Which I'd agree with. That's probably the colour I was searching for when I was going for dark orange or red. Yep, Auburn.
Yep.
Smell heather and honey, and taste spicy, rich fruit. And then it's 4.5 on the bitter scale and 3.5 on the sweet scale.
Yeah, I would agree with that bitterness rating.
I would agree with that, actually.
Yeah, it has a nice bitterness, but it's not to the point where it's not to the point where it's a pint of bitter.
Well, it's not got that typical Mark reaction. It tastes like beer. So, you know, almost your catchphrase.
I can't smell the heather though.
No, I
can't. I can't smell the honey.
I'm getting something sweet in there. But I don't think it's honey. I mean, the bottle describes it as a blackcurrant aroma.
Yeah.
Now, I suppose the only thing that I'd compare that to would be like Ribena. It doesn't smell like Ribena.
No.
But I don't know what blackcurrant smells like. So it may well smell like blackcurrant, but I'm certainly getting there's certainly a fruity smell to it.
Mm. Not a sweet smell though. I mean, not a... What am I trying to think of? It's fruity, but not in a fruity beer kind of way.
Yeah,
not in a Golden Glory Badgers type of way.
No, it's not. It's not overpowering. It's just there's a background fruitiness to it.
Very nice rounded nose to it.
It's I think it's a well-rounded beer actually. It kind of ticks a lot of boxes in terms of a good beer.
Yeah, the benefit of doing this show, mate, is that we are tasting a variety of beers every week. You know, outside of the show, and then with the thought of what does this beer taste like, rather than just let's get a pint down us. And I'm happy to say that this does stand out above the average ones that we subject ourselves to on occasion.
Yeah, it's from a smaller brewery, isn't it? So it's not and it's one of those. You can't pick it up everywhere. So it's not kind of mass marketed and mass produced.
Yeah.
But it's just it's a really nice beer in the deepest sense of the word beer.
Yep.
Not making a lot of sense there. I'll listen back to this when it's out, and I'm like, what the hell was I going on about there? It's not a bitter, so it's not your bulk standard bitter that you'd find in a pub, and it's not your commercially produced beer or ale that you'd find in a supermarket. It's produced by a small brewery in London that in their range have only got 3 beers. So that I'm aware of, at least they've got the Junction, then they've got one called Wandle, and then they've got the Pump House Pale Hell that's been out recently. I don't know whether they've had any specials around that, but it's just it's lovely colour, lovely aroma, lovely flavour. It's just a really well-rounded beer.
Yeah, it's got a nice soft mouthfeel to it. Lingering spice on the palate afterwards.
I'm getting a slightly kind of burnt aftertaste, and not in a bad way, but kind of like almost a slight hint of a smoky kind of aftertaste to it as it's going down.
Yeah, I'm trying to slow down a bit so I can let it warm up a bit before I get too far.
Yeah, I just I wasn't sure what to do with this one because last time I had it was I was camping, so it was quite literally just air temperature.
Mm-hmm.
So I put it out in the garden a few hours ago, not realising it's clearly a lot colder outside than I realise it is because it's actually chilled it. So I think I'm losing a few of the flavours, but I can remember from the last time I had it. I remember thinking it was it was what I would term as a kind of beer that I like, a nice camping beer, because it's just that little bit darker, it's that little bit warmer, so it's beer that you have just sort of like of an evening while you're just sitting down, sort of like, you know, freezing your nuts off because it's the wonderful British summer. It has made the summer evenings cold rather than warm.
Indeed, yeah. Yeah, it's nice. I actually texted the wife and asked her to put it in the fridge at about 5:30. We were recording it. We took it out. I took it out about 8 o'clock. So it was in the fridge for 2.5 hours. So it's cold, but I'm able to warm. I'm warming it through the glass with my hands at the moment to try and draw those extra flavours out that you always get when a pint warms up. The taste is settling somewhat.
Yeah, it's like I said, I think it's just a good beer. It's just a really solid beer. I'm trying to revisit recent reviews where I've gone for the first thing I smell from it and try and describe that. So I've had toast, coffee pot. Yeah.
Yeah, the first thing as I was pouring it that I could smell was that spice coming off it.
Yeah.
Which is always a good sign, because if I'm pouring something in and it just smells like a pub, you know, then you know you're not going to be in for too much of a treat. But yeah, so I would consider this being a beer that you would meditate around. You wouldn't be downing it as quickly as you could.
No, I think not as quickly as we're doing it this evening.
It's like you're saying, it's a camping beer, so you're sitting outside, you're relaxing, you've got this beside you.
You're taking your time over it.
Yeah, exactly. That's a very succinct way of rounding up my thoughts.
No, it's a beer that I think you could take your time over, and I think that you'd want to take your time over as well, because I do think that I mean we probably do drink these beers quite quickly for the sake of the show.
Yeah.
That's probably good. You know, people don't want to listen to us drinking a beer for an hour, do they?
No. As much as I think they would like to.
Yeah.
In reality,
we could do that, folks. We could we could drink for an hour and we could just sit here and chat about our week. I'm sure it would be enthralling. But we do drink quite quickly for the sake of the show. But it's one of those that, as you say, you could nestle it all evening. You could enjoy it all evening, and you wouldn't want to rush with it either.
Yep. Yeah, it's settling down into that. I'm going to describe it as settling as a nice, gentle malt, but not an overpowering one, and the hops aren't overpowering either. And it's funny, it kind of, when it falls onto your tongue, it's like imagine lying in bed and having a new duvet just gently thrown over you, and it just kind of falls onto you like a feather.
You can't beat that feeling.
No, and that's what this is like when it falls onto my tongue, because it comes onto my tongue, and my taste buds aren't fighting it. It's nice, gentle, and then it delivers the spices around the edges and the taste, you know, mixing through to the top of my mouth and all that kind of stuff. The mouthfeel is so nice. And a lot of these beers, you get that burst of bitterness on your tongue, and then it either evaporates or the hops linger too strongly, where you're just left with this taste of hops in your mouth, which isn't necessarily pleasant. Not if there's nothing else there. You're just left with a spicy tongue then. Or you get an initial taste and then nothing after that, which is like that Brains IPA, where you take a sip and you think, oh, this is promising. Oh, no, there's nothing there.
Yeah. Oh, and the flavour's gone. Yeah. In absence of actually finding anything, I've now tried to start closing my eyes and just smelling it, so that I'm not actually seeing the beer.
Yep.
Because there is that underlying kind of beer smell to it. But I'm leaning towards golden syrup. Is what I'm getting.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's it for me this week. Golden syrup.
Give this a bit of a swirl. I saw it on a wine show once. Trying to release those flavours.
I've got to say, I'm really enjoying this pint.
Yeah, after giving it a little bit of a swirl in my nice goblety beer pint glass. Yeah,
you're going to have to post a picture of the glass so people can see it. You know that, don't you?
Oh, those fruity spices, and again, not in the sweet fruit peach style, but
it's those darker fruits, isn't it?
The warm, rich pudding type fruits.
Yeah,
that you'd have in like the nice dark, heavy puddings.
Maybe that's where I'm getting the golden syrup from. Maybe
could be.
Yeah. Maybe I'm getting like a treacle sponge pudding and custard.
That's nice.
Or maybe that's just a craving that I've got for a sudden late dessert. But this would go as a beer. I actually think this would go quite nicely with a meal, and you could carry on drinking it through dessert.
Yeah, order one or get one in halfway through your meal.
Yeah.
Start off with, what's that beer that we had the other week? It was Tanglefoot.
Oh yeah, nice refresher.
Yeah, start your meal off with that. So when you're tucking into your steak and ale pie, you've got your Tanglefoot to the side.
Yeah.
Then, as you're finishing off your meal, get one of these delivered to the table, and you can carry on to your nice heavy pudding with the hot custard and...
Coming next week, folks, our ultimate menu for beer.
Yeah. And then in a year's time, it'll be lose weight with Steve and Mark.
Yeah.
Just like the hairy bikers,
Yeah.
But without the bike and without the hair.
Well, I'm sorry to say that that's gone. But it's gone down an absolute treat.
Yeah, mine's almost done. And it's so rich now. Now that it's warmed up and you're getting towards the end.
Yeah, got about halfway through it, and that initial fizz died off.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think sometimes your first couple of sips that you have, that fizz can take the edge off the flavour.
Yeah.
Most, because all you're getting is the carbonation on your tongue,
and
on around your tongue.
It can also trick you into thinking that there's some extra hoppiness there, when it's not necessarily there, I think.
So once that died off, that became it actually got smoother as I was going down the pint as well. Again, I mean, we spoke about this a few weeks ago. It's a bottle conditioned ale, so that is probably a result of the bottle conditioning, that you get that initial fizz, like when you pour it, and then as it settles and as the yeast settles, you begin to get more of the flavours come through and the beer change.
It's a very clear beer for a bottle conditioned beer.
Yes, yeah.
There's no, I can't see any flakes of anything.
No.
Around, or any sediment.
Oh, I've left some in the bottle at the bottom. Oh, are there going to be bits in that if I drink it? Let's see. It's such a good point. I've got to have every last drop.
I've poured basically all of mine out and I can't see anything.
You know what? Well done, Sambrooks. That is a nice pint.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a winner.
Yep.
That's going on the list.
Yep, that gets the beer o'clock show seal of approval.
Yeah.
If one existed.
We've got to make some up. I was telling you on the weekend I was going to get some beer o'clock show beer mats done up, coasters.
Yes.
Leave them lying around. So we should get some done up with various ratings stamped into them, and we can leave them or post them to breweries.
Absolutely, yeah.
So congratulations. Beer O'Clock Show awards you 5 stars.
Yes.
And talking of which, what's your rating for this one, mate?
I'd give this a 4.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good beer. I suppose for me, I'm comparing everything to those beers for me that are 5s. So like your Innocent Gun, your Hobgoblin, your Ghost Ship, what's the other one that I've rated as a 5? Harvestoon, Bitter and Twisted. They're 5s for me, so they're kind of the benchmark. This for me, it's a great beer, but it's not yet a 5. It's only the second time I've drunk it. I think it's got 5 potential if I was to drink it more, but at the moment it's a 4 for me.
I would go with that rating as well. And I'm just about to untap my review, and I've basically said it's a really lovely, rounded, bitter fruit spice. And that basically sums up my thoughts on Junction from Sambrook's Brewery.
I think that is a great summary, to the point where I'm going to go into Untapped and I'm going to copy and paste that, and I'm going to use that description as well, because I think that's bang on. And I think that just shows how much you've come on.
I know.
As well, Mark, that you're able to now describe beers better than I am, almost.
I do talk out my arse a little bit. But no. I really like this.
Yeah, good beer.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a shame that it's finished.
Yeah, it's a shame it's finished. Or it's almost
I could have quite easily, even on a school night, done another one of those. It's given me a bit of a taste and a bit of a thirst for more.
Yeah, I'm getting a list.
I might be cracking up another one when the finishes. Some description.
I said before that this is going on the list because I'm getting a list together of the beers that I like. This is just all in my head.
Okay.
Of the beers that I would drink again quite happily. So I've got the Doom Bar on there, obviously.
Yeah.
Nice easy beer. The Golden Glory from Badgers, which is my nice peachy beer that I like. And now the Sambrook's Junction. Very nice.
Yeah, good beer.
Yeah. We keep talking about Untapped, by the way, guys. Untapped is an iPhone and Android app. I think they also have a website where you can basically go in, and it's like Foursquare. You check in with the beers that you're drinking, and you can put a little review. You can do a little 4 or 5 bottle cap rating, or you can do from anywhere from 1 to 5. You don't just have the option of 4 to 5.
Yeah.
And
you don't ever do it for.
No, it's a really nice app because you can see what beers are recommended based on the beer that you tap in. If you friend people, you can toast, what they're drinking. You can see what they're drinking. You can even do the location thing, apparently, which shows you the local pubs that are serving particular type of beers and all that kind of stuff. So you can find Steve on Untapped with the username Mental Bentos, which is MENTALBENTOS, and I'm on there with Roku, ROKKU. Those are also our Twitter names. So friend us on Untapped, and just when you do friend us, if there's an option to send us a note just saying heard you on the Beer O'Clock Show, and we'll friend you, we'll share what we're drinking with you. Be really good to get in touch with everybody. So that's quite an easy way of staying in touch, along with Twitter, Facebook, email, which is beeroclockshow@gmail.com, and the website, which is beeroclockshow.co.uk. Now, in the next coming months, weeks, whenever, we're going to be having the occasional guest review from some of our listeners, and maybe even potentially having an additional host now and then just to come in and talk about beers that they've been drinking, and having a third wheel, so to speak.
I've got a name for that.
Yeah?
Yep, I'm thinking we should call it our regional review panel.
Oh, very good. That sounds very posh. I like
Thank
that.
you.
That lends us a certain amount of legitimacy. We've got one coming at the end of this episode, so keep listening for that with our number one fan, Anthony Statham. Or Anthony Statham, sorry.
No relation to Jason.
No. He and Steve were out sampling the wares of various public houses, and they recorded a very quick review. And so expect to hear more from Anthony in the future. Let's get to what our personal assignments are for next week. The personal assignments are where Steve and I choose an individual beer different from each other, and we review them outside of the show. This is just so we can get more content in, for one thing, and also because we don't necessarily have access to the same beers at our local bottle shops. What's your personal assignment for next week?
I'm going to review a Brains beer, and it's from their... Brains have started doing a new range of handcrafted beers, and this was the first in their range of handcrafted beers. I'm going to review the Barry Island IPA.
Ooh, this is one you've had a couple of.
Yes, it's the one that I won the crate of after the Great British Beer Festival. Yeah, so I've got a few of them.
I'm very jealous about.
Yeah, I am gonna when we're meeting up in a few weeks, I'm gonna bring you a bottle then. Although bearing in mind what we're meeting up for, I don't know whether that's the best idea to give you a glass bottle to carry around.
I was going to bring one for because Andy's joining us as well. I was going to bring one for him, but I was going to pad it in as much bubble wrap as I had lying around the house.
Now there's a good idea. That's what I was doing. So I'll bring you a bottle of that so you can sample it. But no, I'm going to do that as my personal assignment for next week.
Jolly good. I'm choosing an Aussie beer for next week.
Okay.
Which is the Cooper's Sparkling Ale, which is apparently more promising than the name suggests. It's a bottle-conditioned craft beer. Cooper's is one of the more popular breweries in Australia that doesn't cater to the normal Foster's 4X crowd. So I'm really looking forward to that. They also put out a lot of homebrew stuff. So I think, they've been going for 150 years or something.
Excellent.
This brewery, so I'm really
sounds intriguing.
Yeah. So I saw this on a YouTube review channel, this particular beer.
Yeah.
And obviously, being from Australia, I know the name Cooper's, so it intrigued me, and I found it at the Morrison's down in the bad end of town.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, good find.
Yeah, so I might pop in there, I might brave that end of town one day and pop in and grab a bottle for our meetup. See if I can grab one.
Oh, we can do beer exchanges.
Yeah, little care packages. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a funny story. My boss has had problems with his card because he was in New York recently. He had his credit card cloned, so they basically cancelled his cards, and so he's got no money at the moment. He has no access to money. So a mate of his left a box on his porch or on his front step with a Red Cross sticker on it. And this box basically contained beers. It was like a care package. You got no money, but here's a Red Cross package to get you through the hard times. I thought that was very amusing.
Those are the sorts of friends you want.
Exactly.
They know that when you're at your lowest, what you need is a beer.
Exactly. Yeah.
But again, drink responsibly, folks.
Drink responsibly. Yeah. Drinkaware.co.uk if you can be asked.
Yeah.
Or do what we do, drink in the safety of our own homes with headphones on our head, keeping us upright.
Yes, telling other people about what we're drinking.
Yeah. Oh, I'm drinking an entire pint of beer in 20 minutes, which is far too quickly for me.
It's good going.
Yeah, we always sleep well on recording nights.
I do love recording nights. I do get the best night's sleep.
Okay,
outside of the weekend, recording nights are the best nights.
Yeah. Let's wrap this up. Keep listening for Anthony's review at the end. It's not very long. Expect more from him in future. My name's Mark, thanking you again for listening. Steve, thanks for joining me as always, mate. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. It's always a pleasure. Never a chore.
This is episode 10. We've lasted 10 episodes, which is more than I was expecting when we first started off. I wasn't sure how I'd handle 1 beer a week, oh my goodness. But now I'm up to 2 or 3. Do I have a problem? I don't know. Not enough beer.
Just to say,
Yeah.
one additional thing: if people do enjoy the review at the end that Anthony's done, if you do want to submit your own reviews to us that you record about, just submit them to our email address, which is Mark. I forget.
It's beeroclockshow@gmail.com.
And basically, I mean, the review that I did with Anthony was just recorded on an iPhone.
Yeah.
So
record
that's all you've got to do.
Yeah, record it on your phone, whatever app you're using, whether it's an Android or iPhone, whatever. There was going to be a email option. Just do that. Email us the raw MP3 file or the A4V file or whatever format it comes through. I can convert it. We want to hear your reviews. Just tell us what you're drinking. Tell us what you think of it. Get your mates involved. Be really good fun.
Yeah, we're trying to encourage people to share in as many different ways as they possibly can what they're drinking. So whether it's via the review on Facebook, Twitter, Untapped, the website, email, you've got loads of options there now. There's no excuses not to share it. Get in and let us know what you're drinking.
Yeah, exactly. And whenever you're opening a bottle, tweet us at Beer O'Clock Show and tell us what you think. Okay, that's it. Thanks, mate. Talk to you next week.
Talk to you next week. Look forward to it.
Cheerio.
Bye-bye.
Hello and welcome to a live version of the Beer O'Clock Show. I'm here in the Holborn Whippet with one of our biggest fans, our number one fan, Mr. Anthony Statham, who's going to give us a review of the Adnams Topaz Gold that we're drinking right now.
Hi Steve, having a great time. Had a couple of pints of the Adnams Topaz Gold. I think I'd describe it more as session beer. Golden and hoppy. Only 4% in volume, but very nice on tap.
Okay, and while you're here, tell us what you think of the Beer O'Clock Show.
Beer O'Clock Show. The Beer O'Clock Show has changed my life. When it comes to beer, it is the pinnacle. It really has. Give me a focus when it comes to ale. I now look at ale in a totally different light to what I did before. And I started on Harvey's, and now I've really worked around a few beers. I'm really starting to find my ales, thanks to the Beer O'Clock Show.
Excellent, and you can follow Anthony on Twitter at Stath79, so that's STATH79. Follow Anthony Statham at Stath79, and that's all from the Beer O'Clock Show live at the Holborn Whippet.